Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Red Inc. So today's deck profile for you, we're taking it back a little ways. We're going over Crossheart. Yes, Crossheart. I've been toying with this deck in my spare time at locals, things like that, having fun with it. And yeah, that's pretty much what this is. We've got a tiny bit of support recently with the new Cross 2. So I wanted to see if it was worth anything, test it out, and honestly, yeah, it was great. I had a single bad matchup the whole night that I played this and did my absolute best at, and it was against a Machine Digimon player that had 3 analog mans on field, and that was the only reason, and it was so close. Literally, it came down to the final security check with a big board, and I forgot what happened, but something happened and I couldn't actually end up getting what I needed. I think I needed it to die in the security check so I could do the material save, and it didn't die. So it is what it is, but I think this deck is still absolutely fire even after all this time. All right, so as always, I have the whole deck profile pulled up for you guys so you can follow along with us. No need to skip to the end and miss everything and just hear what we're talking about, right? So some obvious things right off the bat. Notice we're not running the yellow Tamer in here. I know it's pretty crazy, but with running the Cross 7 package, the deck is so tight, and I absolutely really need the Trio Tamer here to help facilitate a little bit more. And they also kind of serve a similar purpose. They give us another draw. So similar to how she performs, just we do it through them instead. So let's go ahead and do this card by card review here. First up, we're still running the Pikmons. Of course, the when attacking, if it has Crossheart, draw 1. So it's going to be a great source of draw power for us. This is very much a very aggressive deck. You want to basically combo off and just like push your opponent so hard, so fast that they don't have time to do any sort of setup, any sort of decks that take like a trash setup or anything like that. You just want to blow past all those and just go for game as soon as possible. No need to build up into any sort of specific stack, anything like that. It's almost like a pseudo rookie rush, champion rush style deck. And that's really what it is. It's just super aggressive at what it does. We also have the Sparrowmon in here. For one, you need it for some of your bigger crosses, as well as it's just not a bad body to Evo in raising area. It gets 3k while you have another Digimon or Tamer with the Crossheart Twilight trait. Of course, it's got the save, and it also gives our stuff reboot. So that reboot is very powerful. But yeah, so he's just swinging in as a 5k body with the Pikmon getting you a draw underneath it. So he is our ideal target usually to go into the raising area. Next, we've got the Shoutmon here, which really, honestly, this is the whole reason the deck I think still can even exist. Mainly the inheritable here giving rush. While this Digimon has Shoutmon name, it gains rush. So you can play a lot of these like lower end cross Digimons. You can play those and they'll have rush and you can immediately swing with them. And that's what really helps make this deck so like, I don't know, competitive, I would say, is just because of this Shoutmon pretty much alone giving everything rush that you're playing out with him. So he's got the on-deletion save as well, but his on-play also is really strong. He is a big 4 play cost, which is not greatest, but he brings a lot to the table. So reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon card and 1 Tamer card, both with a Crossheart trait among them to your hand. Place the rest of the bottom of the deck in order. So he is a searcher for the deck. Yes, he is a 4 play cost searcher. He is adding 2, which is nice. He does have the on-deletion save, and he has probably the best inheritable in the entire deck. So it kind of makes sense. Starmons here is our other backup Evo target on top of Pikmon, which is kind of funny that it actually works out like that. Literally Pikmon's in the image here. He's got the on-deletion save, and then when attacking, if it has Shoutmon in name, draw 1. Another one of our draws here, so him and Pikmon, of course, like that's kind of their whole shtick here is that they're gaining you cards, right? Yeah, it's a super light, level 3 package there, but that's pretty standard because the other end is, of course, in our level 4s. But we have one last level 3 here. I am running the Shoutmon Star Sword here. I go back and forth on this. I enjoy this. I think it's a fun card. On play, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP for turn. Then, if Digi-crossing with 2 cards, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 2000 DP or less. This was really just a great floodgate killer for me. Anytime my opponent played something like a Psychmon, because I did play this a bunch when Anubis was around, so there were Psychmons everywhere, which was hitting me also because I couldn't reduce my play cost. So this killing Psychmons was actually super clutch. Like, I didn't even need to cross with this. I could just play this for 5. Most of the time my opponent was going to have a memory setter anyway, or they gave me enough memory that it wouldn't matter. But that -3 alone was pretty solid for that. But hey, if you do Digicross with a Shoutmon and the Starmons, he's a 3 play cost with Rush, right? And then he's going to die and material save 1, so you're going to save that Shoutmon more than likely if you don't, of course, he's your only one. So he's another one of our Rush targets that we're going to be able to cross with. We're going to see a whole lot of that in this, just a FYI. Next, we got the Ballistamon, which of course is a must-have here. While you have opponent's turn, while you have another Digimon or Tamer with Crossheart in its traits, this Digimon gains blocker. I actually like that it has opponent's turn here. This is super niche and like almost will never come up. But Fire Rocket in security deletes a blocker, so the fact that this only has blocker during the opponent's turn is kind of cheeky there. He's got the on deletion save, and then he's going to give us the piercing inheritable to our Shoutmons that cross with him. So he's a super, just all around good card here. 4 play cost there, and again, you notice a bit of a trend there. A lot of 4 play cost in our cross engine here. Next, we got the on play from the Darulomon. If you have another Digimon or Tamer with Crossheart in traits, one of your opponent's Digimon gets -3000 DP for the turn. This is, again, another floodgate killer for us, and actually cheaper than the Shoutmon. Star Sword. Also, I did kind of skip over this. This Digimon is also treated as its name as Starmon or Shoutmon. So he actually like helps facilitate these two guys, because if you don't draw into them and you do draw into a Star Sword, you can still use him as one or the other, and I think that's really handy. So yeah, Darulomon here has got the save as well, and then his inheritable your turn. While this Digimon has Shoutmon in its name, all of your opponent's security Digimon gain -2000 DP. That can hurt you at times if you want it to die in security, but if you don't want it to die in security, it's actually really handy. Like something like the Cross 4 that's limited to 1, you actually don't want it to die in security. You want it the end of attack to trigger. So that actually does really help on that situation. I do have 2 Shoutmon King versions in here. This is almost completely because of Cross 4's limited to 1 capacity here. The name is also treated as Shoutmon, but on play, you may return 1 card with Digicross requirements from trash to hand. When you would Digicross this turn, this Digimon may replace 1 of the Digicross requirements. So I find that really powerful. Digicross for 2 with anything with Crossheart trait. So he's a 3 play cost, basically. He's going to have material save 1 if he does die. But this is what you're using to grab back out of trash, right? You could argue running some of the newer stuff that came out after these guys from the Hunters deck, because they actually get to source stuff underneath your Tamers. But the thing is, you can't use those, right? You can't play them, right? They're lodged underneath your Tamers, unless you're also going to run the option card that lets you play from underneath Tamers. But then you're adding like multiple layers of cards needed to pull that off, whereas Shoutmon King version just does it. You know, he just straight from trash to hand. Like, awesome, cool. If you have something that gets hit in security, right? Your one of gets hit in your security, or like your Cross 7 here gets hit in security, it's in your trash and you really need it, you can go Shoutmon King version, and then boom, he's on field. Now he's also a supplement for anything that you might be missing in your cross. I think he's a pretty powerful card. I like him at 2 of in here. Feels really good. Like every time I've had him, like it's actually come up really nicely. Especially if I go like Cross 4, swing, end of attack, Cross 4 ability, and then I go Shoutmon King version, grab Cross 4 back, do it all over again. Yeah, I mean, it's not that hard to do a combo like that. Like this deck is pretty efficient at doing memory shenanigans. So yeah, it doesn't take much. Next, for the new one, we actually have the new include here in the Shoutmon Cross 2 from BT15. Material save 2, so a little bit better than a couple of our other ones there. Start of your turn, by deleting this Digimon, gain 1 memory. On play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. If Digicrossing with 2 two cards that Digimon can't unsuspend during your opponent's next unsuspend phase. And then rule also treated as Shoutmon and Ballistamon. So similar to the Shoutmon Star Sword, this one also is treated as two different names. So if you don't have the Ballistamon or you don't have a Shoutmon, you can still use him from your hand as one of the sources you need to be able to cross with. And I think that's really the reason I play this is you'll notice we're running these at 2-ofs. That is just to help supplement for more names. So having more Ballistamons if we can't draw into them, or more Starmons if we can't draw into them. I did actually debate dropping each of these guys down to 3 since we were running the other 2, which is completely viable. If you want to like add in some like removal options into the deck, you could definitely take these guys down to 3 each and totally pull that off. I think that's totally fine. But yeah, I just like the synergy there. So he basically becomes a 3 play cost. Again, you put the Shoutmon underneath him. He's got Rush, so you can immediately save swing with him, and he's got that material save too. So you don't even have to worry about losing any of your materials on this guy. Unlike the Star Sword that only saves 1, which is a bit unfortunate. So yeah, I really like the Cross 2. Cross 2 has felt pretty good for us. Now, some people I noticed have dropped this down to like a 3-of, Cross 3 at 3. But for me, I can't do it. The on play reveal 3, add 2 cards with Cross and or Blue Flare in their traits among them to your hand, place the rest of the bottom of your deck. Like just getting that search is so powerful, and he can be a 1 play cost, and then he's going to material saves 2, so you're going to lose 1 of them, but that's not too bad there. Again, Ballistamon we can replace with the Cross 2, so if we have to lose a Ballistamon, we have others plenty more in the deck. It's not too bad for us. It's kind of same for Shoutmon, but if you got the Rush Shoutmon and he's your only Rush Shoutmon, definitely save that one. But again, 1 play cost with Rush, and it's a searcher. Like that's just feels so good for me. And then start of your turn by deleting this Digimon gain 1 memory. I almost never do that. If this guy survives that long, I'm swinging again with him. Like absolutely, I'm swinging again with him. I'd rather get the security check unless I know that I can't get the security check for whatever reason, and I think that extra memory could help me, like with a Cross 7 play or something like that in a certain situation, then sure, we'll not do that. But a lot of times it's like, even if they block him, I forced a block out of you, and now my other guys can get around. So it works out. So 4 of the Cross 3s feels super good. Unlike the other 2 here, they're 3 play costs, but Cross 3 is a 1 play cost. So very nice. Next, we got the 1 of Cross 4. This card is busted. It can never come off of 1, like maybe 2 if they ever decide to implement 2 ofs on a limited list. But not full power. This card is still absolutely gross. On play, draw 2, not too bad there. End of attack, by placing all Digivolution cards from under this Digimon under one of your Tamers, unsuspend one of your Tamers, and delete this Digimon. So he just basically puts all 4 of his Digicross requirements here, which make him a 1 play cost, right? So 2, 4, 6, 8. He's a 1 play cost with Rush. End of attack, he blows himself up and resets. So you just throw them all underneath Taiki or your Trio Tamer, and then you just do the same thing again, right? It's like literally... You get so many security checks for 1 memory and just kind of repeat it all one after another. It's only 1 security check, but also it's a draw 2 every single time. And you just get to redo it over. It's 1 memory. And you can do it 4 times. There's no way that card can come off of 1. So it is extremely good. Like I said, we're running the Shoutmon King version to be able to grab it back. Now I'm running 3 Cross 5s. I know this is a bit of an unpopular number here. I love Cross 5. Because Cross 4 is limited to 1, I like the aggro that comes with Cross 5. Like, yeah, we're a Rookie Rush, Champion Rush style deck, but Cross 5 is also, like, Security Attack +1 on him feels super good. And he's a free play cost. Like, if you cross all 5 stuff, he is a 0 play cost with Rush, with Security Attack +1, 10,000 DP, but also you combine that with the Darulamon, so basically he's a 12k when swinging into Security. he just feels so good. On deletion, he's got material save 3, so you're going to lose 2 targets. So be careful with that. Sparrowmon is definitely one of the ones you probably want to get because you only have the 4 copies of. So very important on that one, more than likely. And of course, your Rush Shoutmon if you only have 1 in rotation. But yeah, this guy just feels so good. Even if you're just passing turn, he is still a blocker. He's a pretty big blocker too. So yeah, I love Cross 5. I think Cross 5 is amazing, honestly, personally. All right, now getting into the, you could almost argue this is a flex spot, depending on how you want to run the deck. If you want to run the Merva build, you could absolutely do that right here. I think if I was to run the Merva build, I don't think I would run the Star Sword and Cross 2, though. Like, being absolutely straightforward, honest here, yeah, probably not. I would drop those guys and then drop these 6, of course. We drop the duo White Tamer as well, probably pick up the yellow one. And then, yeah, we would do it a little bit differently, but that's not what this is about. This is a Cross 7 build. I think the Cross 7 build is super fun, and that's why I enjoy it. I also like Z Greymon. I think Z Greymon is very powerful, which we'll actually go ahead and talk about him first over the Omni Shoutmon. Going off of the Cross 5 here, Cross 5's got that security attack +1, so he can clear your opponent's last bit of security out potentially, especially if you're swinging with like your champions and your rookies here. You just need 3 bodies to check. You go into Cross 5, check the last 2, and then Z Greymon. When Digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon. Then, if a card with Blue Flare or Crossheart is in its traits, is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, and your opponent has 2 or more Digimon in play, gain 2 memory. So he can be a 1 Evo cost on top of your Cross 5 and unsuspend. What does that like sound like? That's basically like your Blitz Omnimon, or more accurately, it's going to be your Beelzemon burst mode kind of style. You're going to gain memory back and unsuspend. So if you can keep turn, then you can just swing in. Even if you don't gain the memory back, if you just have the memory, like, because Cross 5, he's a free. You cross all 5, he's 0 play cost. So if you're at 3 memory when you play him, or you use Zenjiro to gain memory back and put yourself at 3, you can go Z Greymon for game. And I think that's super strong, super underrated. He is more flexible than you might think. He might not be an instant source to like slide underneath a Taiki, Kiriha, and Nene for an extra draw, because you actually could use him. So just keep that in mind. He also has the blocker inheritable for your Cross 7s. We have the Omni Shoutmon here, which when you would Digicross, the name of this card is also treated as Shoutmon. So again, we have more supplement for that. When Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 4,000 DP or less. If Shoutmon is in this Digimon's distribution cards, delete 2 of your opponent's Digimon with 4,000 DP or less. More than likely, you won't ever need this to come up, I guess, in like a super fringe scenario. If your opponent has like double blockers and you can go like Evo this and pop both of them if they're 4,000 DP or less somehow, maybe that'll come up. More than likely not, though. He's mainly in here his inheritable security tank +1, and he is a cross requirement for Shoutmon Cross 7 here, who takes Omni Shoutmon and Z Greymon, which is why we run 2 of each of those in the deck to complement our 2 of Cross 7s. Reason I run 2 is because I hate 1-ofs in any deck. If a card is good enough to put in your deck, it's good enough to put in at 2. I feel like no card is worth just 1-of, because you're not going to see it. If you don't want to see it every single game, then the card's probably not good. That's just my thinking as a player, and that's just kind of how it's always been. The only time I run 1-ofs is when they limit it to 1, and I can only run 1 of it. So yeah, he's got material save 4 here. It does take 6 to make him, though, cross of 2. So he can make himself a 2 play cost there if you have all the materials. He's got Rush just built in, mainly because you don't use a regular Shoutmon. You have to use the Omni Shoutmon, who does not give Rush as an inheritable. So the fact that he has it built in was very good insight by the creators. And then on play, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon's DP. All turns, for every 2 cards in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, it gets 1,000 DP. So you put 6 cards underneath him, he's going to get 3,000 DP. He's at 16,000 DP on play. Basically, pop anything you want. And then he's got Rush. He's going to have Security Attack +1 from the Omni Shoutmon. He's going to have, reboot from the Sparrowmon here. He's got blocker from the Zeeg. He's got piercing. Yeah, he's just a really good boss monster for the deck. That's why I enjoyed him. The Merva build is all about just spamming out the bodies, and sometimes just spamming out bodies isn't enough. Just having a ton of attacks. You need interaction with your opponent's like board state and things like that. And I think that's what's really nice about the Cross 7 build is it's more flexible to adapt to different decks, that you don't have to worry about someone like hard countering you, because you're playing cards that can like flex to different sort of scenarios, and that's why I like the Cross 7 build. For our 3 Tamers here, we've got, of course, Zenjiro, which is so gnarly. On play, you may play Ballistamon from your hand or from under one of your Tamers without paying its memory cost. Your turn, when you play Digimon with Crossheart in its traits, by suspending this Tamer, gain 1 memory. Keep in mind, that is your turn. So if you hit him in security and he plays himself, you can use his on play to play out a Ballistamon. However, you can't use the your turn gain a memory, but still nice. So he's a 3 play cost. You play him, you get a Ballistamon, you immediately can suspend him, and essentially you spent 2 memory to get a Tamer and a Ballistamon with a blocker immediately on the field. And that feels really good. And even if he gets hit in security, it's also nice because you can play out the Ballistamon and boom, you instantly have a blocker that your opponent might not have been counting on. So, less security checks for them. Something to keep in mind, Shoutmon Cross 2. Remember, like we said, the rule also treated as Shoutmon and Ballistamon. You can play him off of a Zenjiro. So on play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. If Digicrossing with 2 cards, that Digimon can't unsuspend during your opponent's next unsuspend phase. I like that also. Can't unsuspend during the next unsuspend phase, your opponent's next unsuspend phase. If it's the middle of their turn and you play him off as Zenjiro and you suspend something, most of the time it just says until the end of your opponent's turn. But because it's all the way, it's basically a full 360 back to their turn before they can unsuspend that Digimon. So no reboot shenanigans or anything like that. Or, like the Greymon or Burst Mode, the Beelzemon Burst Mode, anything like that. They can't use effects to unsuspend themselves and attack again or whatever the case may be. So playing him, because you can cross when you do this if you so choose off the Zenjiro. So I don't think you would, though. More than likely, you're probably just going to use the on play to suspend something, because if you have the Ballistamon, you could just play the Ballistamon with blocker and the save, right? But yeah, still super powerful. Zenjiro, I think, is a must-have at 4 of, no matter what. Same with Taiki here. He's a must-have 4 of. He's a 3 play cost searcher for us. On play, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 card with Crossheart and its traits among them to your hand, and place 1 card with Crossheart traits among them under this Digimon. Place the rest of them on the bottom of the deck. So you get to source something that you can use, because his other effect here is your turn. When you would play a Digimon card with Crossheart requirements, by suspending this Tamer, you may place cards from under your Tamers as Digivolution cards for a Digicross. And it doesn't matter what Tamer they're underneath. You can grab 1 from each. Doesn't matter. Nice flexible card there. Again, really solid design on this one. Only a 3 play cost. Reveal 4, so you get to dig 4 deep. You get to add 1 to hand, and you get to source something. Just super strong. Super strong card. Like, again, makes the whole deck. Him and Shoutmon giving Rush is what honestly makes this deck playable. So yeah, the big deal there. We also have the triple Tamer here because this one works similar to Taiki, because you absolutely need this kind of effect to get into your cross 7s. So start of your main phase by placing 1 Digimon card with Crossheart or Blue Flare in its traits in your hand. Under this Tamer, gain 1 memory and draw a card. So we just get that instant value there, and that gain the memory is also super good. Your turn, when you would play a Digimon card with Crossheart requirements, by suspending this Tamer, you may place cards from under your Tamer as Digivolution cards for a Digicross. So it has the same other secondary effect that Taiki has. So if you don't see the Taiki, you can still use the Trio Tamer to do the same thing of being able to suspend them to use your saved cards that are under your Tamers. But yeah, I like the gain 1 and the draw 1, because it's almost like combining. It's funny enough, it's like combining all 3 of our other Tamers here. It's like having a Zenjiro, Taiki, and I forget the other one, the yellow Tamer. I forget her name. But it's like having all those. You get the draw, you get the memory, you get the suspension to play from underneath Tamers. It's all three of them all in one. So yeah, I think it's a really good card. We just run it as a 2 of, one. That's kind of really all the room we have, but also I don't think you need more than 2. It is a 4 play cost that you really kind of only need 1 of. I mean, I guess if you have a second, you could do this effect again, which isn't too bad. But really just 1 has always been enough for me. That extra draw and that extra memory is pretty solid. But there's no harm in playing a second one, or if a second one gets it in security. But you really don't need more than that. It gets kind of cloggy at that point. But that is the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, the only big flex spots is if you wanted to add some removal in, you could drop the Ballista and the Starmons down, or if you just really don't want to run the Star Sword and the Shoutmon Cross 2, you could drop those as well. I think they're very fun cards and they're very neat. I would keep the King version though, absolutely. And if you don't want to run the Cross 7 build, you could also switch these cards out for the Merva package. You're going to run 4 Ignite, 4 Merva, and then probably fill the rest up with all those memory game options like we've ran in the past. But yeah, the deck hasn't changed too much. The Cross 2 is mainly the big takeaway here, and it's mostly, I think it's more fun than actually super hyper competitive. But again, I do like just another target that I can cross with Shoutmon underneath with Rush, swing, material save 2 on this, so it's better than the Star Sword, and I get both my resources back. Feels really nice. But yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you in the next